All right, everybody ready?
Yes. Yeah.
This is the second lecture of the Divine Principle. It is chapter 1 in the book, The Principles of Creation. Because we know God's original plan, now we know where we're going. We know our destination, where God wants us to go, and therefore where we will end up. The Divine Principle is a Bible-based teaching of Reverend Sun Myung Moon, and it unlocks the secrets of the Bible. It was received from years of studying Scripture, prayer, fasting, incredible suffering, and also his spiritual senses were open so that he could meet people in the spiritual world, all the historical figures of the Bible, and so forth. It is a systematic theology, explanation of the purpose of life, the origin of evil, and the cause of suffering, and the process for returning to our original purpose. Well, that is what the whole book is about, with all different aspects, explaining Christian theology, the Bible, and many other truths that people have been searching for throughout history. Excuse me. As a reminder, Jesus said that more truth will come.
He did, yes.
We don't have it all. And somebody who says they do is mistaken. Okay. Principle of creation. The principle of creation starts out by talking about the nature of God. How can we know what God is like? And the way we can know, the examples or the explanation of how we understand God is by studying the world around us. Because a creator, like a painter, conceives of the idea in his mind and then makes the painting, but it all came from him and is a reflection of something inside the painter. Same thing. The creation is a reflection of God. So we understand, we look at the creation and we see things, we can know this came from God, therefore God is like that or has that content. So there are two sets of primary dual characteristics. The first one is mind and body. So that everything in the universe has a physical form that's visible and an invisible form. Even at the lowest levels of particles and atoms, there's the energy, but there are laws and principles that guide all of those particles. Energy is organized. It is not typically random. All of the things of creation are organized. Molecules, plants have an invisible nature. My wonderful wife is an incredible gardener, and every day she's telling me more about the invisible nature of plants. These plants like water, these plants don't like water. These plants need sunlight, these plants don't need sunlight. So everything is learning about creation and the plant phenomena. Even there was a book written a long time ago about the invisible nature of plants. They found that plants are responsive to human beings. I don't know if you heard this story. If you put plants in a bank and the bank gets robbed and you hook those plants up to a lie detector, they will go off when the robber comes back in contact with that plant. Wow. You know, this stuff is phenomenal, way beyond what we understand. Animals too, same thing, way, way beyond. They've taken baby rabbits in a submarine miles off of shore, and they killed them. Excuse me. And the mother on shore went crazy. They're now talking about quantum physics, where particles in one place in the universe are somehow connected to particles in another place in the universe. What you do to one occurs on the other one too. Phenomenal stuff is happening. Human beings, we just have no idea what human beings really are, mind and body. The second set of dual characteristics is male and female, only two genders. That's it forever, that's the way God made it.
So now
The whole universe, male and female. Well, so God is like that. Hey, we can relate to God, He can relate to us. He has an invisible nature, intellect, emotion, will. That's where we got ours. What do you think? Okay. Universal prime energy, that's the external energy of God. It's ordered. There's laws in chemistry, physics, biology, everything is organized. And there's a male and female aspect to God, just like His creation. In some senses, duh, right? But it's far, far deeper. I don't have time to go into it. This is an overview, but there's a whole lot more. You can talk about this for hours, this kind of stuff. Why did God create? Did God just create and then disappear and go off? Well, that was fun and leave it? He did not. God was seeking a partner in order to experience love and joy. The same as all of us. Every child, watch the children. You know, they play with dogs. That's the most relationship they can have as they're growing up. It's deeper and deeper. The more the thing you're having a relationship reflects your own nature, the better relationship you can have with it. That's why God wanted to create something in His own image. So that He can have a very deep, unbelievable relationship with it. We don't, in the fallen world, we don't experience the relationship that God wanted to have with us. And He doesn't, obviously, He doesn't experience it either. But someone like Jesus, imagine, if you can even imagine, His relationship with God. If you've had an experience with God, with God's love, that's like, one blip in your life, but you never forget it. That's what it's supposed to be like all the time. That's what God intended. The heart of God seeks an object to love. Something like Himself to have give and take with. There's no love without an object, a subject and an object. In order for God to experience joy, He needed to create an object who could fully respond to His love. Adam and Eve were made in the image of God. Give and take action. We call this give and take action when there's a subject and an object, initiator, and a reciprocator. Everything exists in give and take relationships. It's all energy, right? And the result of give and take is everything else. We exist by give and take. We eat food every day, right? We breathe air. All of this we're having give and take with the environment around us. We multiply, and all of our actions even. We've got muscles. Go out and come back. We've got two sets. Everything exists in relationship, give and take. We are not individuals unto ourselves. And the way to create a better world is through relationships, through community and so forth. It's not going to be everybody for himself. It's not going to be all individualistic. We're all working together like the cells in a human body. Adam and Eve are manifestations of God's original dual characteristics. God created man in His own image. The image of God created he him. Male and female created He them. The Lord God said, "It's not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helpmate for him." So that's what Adam and Eve were to be. They were to grow up and become Christ-like. Have a relationship with God like Jesus had. At that point in their relationship, see, God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. We said that already. God said to them, be fruitful. He blessed them. Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish, the seas, the birds, everything. We're going to explain this, but this is God's blessing to Adam and Eve. And this, as it turns out, is the main purpose, goal of God in the creation. So, God's original plan is embodied by these three blessings. Be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion. So if our mind and body became one with God, and there's a growing process which we're going to talk about, but the mind and body, we become a true individual like Christ, then what is that experience we're going to have as a result of that? You know, I love giving lectures because I learn so much in the process. and sometimes I get a little download and, oh wow, this joy stuff all came from a lecture I gave in the 7-day workshop. Because I didn't really understand this well enough, and I would turn my back. I had a chalkboard at that time. I turned my back and I said, God help. And he gave me this understanding that this, as a true individual, our life would be unbelievably joyful. For those of you, if you've had an experience with God, it's phenomenal. It's unbelievable. It's like you just want to shrivel up and go away. Don't love me that much. It is so joyful what that is alone. That's just the beginning, though. That's what Jesus attained, and that's what he wanted for all of us. But he never got to the second level, and it's way, way, way better. If you have a wonderful relationship with your spouse, you know it's way better than being alone. But it goes beyond that. I mean, the relationship between a spouse, husband and wife, is so joyful. What would it have been like if it was Jesus and a woman like himself, that level of relationship with God? What would that be like? Right? Incredible joy. And then the children born into that family, what would they be like? What kind of love would they get? Those children. That's what God wanted for all of us. A relationship with our parents that are like God. So the love of God, the love of parents for every child would be so manifest in the world. So much joy. Children, grandchildren. I'm sorry. I'm stressing my voice. Calm down. Grandchildren. All right, we have grandchildren, you know.
Right.
There's a special love that comes from grandchildren. You imagined it, but you didn't know what it was really going to feel like.
Yes.
And then it gets you. That child is the most special creation ever in the universe. That's what I had.
Yeah.
So, grandchildren, wow, what a world they would live in. Right. And then it goes on and on and on and on and on. The whole world is filled with people like God. Give or take with God. And then what, most of us grow up, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't know what kind of job I want to have. I don't have, any real clear picture of a mission in life. That wouldn't be a problem in the kingdom of heaven. We would know what we're supposed to do. We would fit in with God's plan and it wouldn't be a self-centered life. You would be contributing to the benefit of everyone else. So this would produce tremendous joy because when you've got when you're doing something that you love, time flies. And you don't know you're experiencing so much joy with the creation, right? But it's not just the animals and the vegetables. It's creating buildings, it's creating beauty, it's creating art, it's creating music. All of that was intended to create happiness for all mankind. And this was another inspiration I had. Here's what your mama always says to you. Would you grow up and get married and get a good job, right? That's God's heart. He's a parent. God wants us. His blessing, first blessing, grow up and reach the fulfillment of your nature. Get married. Get a good job. Here's a true individual, Jesus Christ. I mentioned him already. You must be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. This is what he told us. We should be perfect. So he intended with all his heart to be able to give that to all of us. Do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? We are supposed to embody God's heart. All of our actions, all the things we do are supposed to be the hands and feet of God. Every day, everybody we meet is giving us God and working with God. It's an incredible dynamic of give and take. There's no falsehood, there are no temptations to do evil. Who would want to do evil in that kind of world? Who would choose to go to destruction? Nobody. It would be clear. Check the time here. As the Creator, God is the owner and King of the universe. Adam and Eve, as God's children, were given the blessing to have dominion over all creation, which includes both the spiritual and physical realms. As the ruler of creation, Adam was meant to become the first king of the kingdom of heaven on earth. Eve was to have been the first queen. The lineage of Adam and Eve was meant to have been the lineage of God's royal family. All right, so that's established. Right? Now, let's talk a little bit about the process. How does God create us in his image so that we know how to love, but we have free will? There has to be free will. You can't love without free will. A robot, as much as you might create a robot that says it loves you and looks beautiful, is not real love. I mean, you don't want to marry your computer.
No.
I've heard that's happening, but you don't want a blow up doll here. This is not love. It's not. That's fake. That's so fake. So, in order for God to be able to create his own image, they have to do something. They have to become they have to choose to be responsible. Because having a relationship of love requires that you're responsible. You can't be an infant and just take. You've got to grow up. So the whole universe is created like that. Everything grows. And there's some things like sunshine and air, that comes down for free. God has done 95% of the creation. But the nutrients, like food and water, the tree has to send down the roots. It doesn't get it for free. All of that is in growing. So the whole universe, we look at everything and there's a process of growing to maturity, a growing process. So, and we break it into 3 sections: formation, growth, and completion. So, like human beings, the formation stage would be, we talked about roughly 7 years, 7 years of growth, 7 years, so you're finally complete. So like 21 years old, your physical body is pretty complete. By that time, your spirit should also have been perfect in God's original plan. Because you can see, babies, they require complete everything. You love them, but you also have to feed them, clothe them. They can't do anything for themselves. A child begins to do those things for himself and begins to have a relationship with others. She begins to love in a childlike sense. Have give and take. Still receiving a lot of love from parents as they grow. But in this process, they're learning. If they got brothers and sisters, they're interacting. You know, they fight. They learn what socialization is all about, what love is, and what's not love. Right? By the time we're adolescents, you know, we put 12-year-olds out there babysitting. Right? They're learning to be parents. By the time that you reach physical maturity, ideally, we would be able to give unconditional love like God does. So, can you imagine, if you made it by 21, what the rest of your life would just be expressing love and experiencing love of God. That was the original plan.
Yes.
All right, so we can talk a lot more about growth. I had some amazing experiences praying about growth in lectures too. Let me tell you one of them. I was praying, God, why do we have to grow? Why it's so difficult to grow? I'm always struggling. It takes years to grow. Why does it take so long? And I just got this download, like 3-4 panels in the cartoon. You know, the first one was, well, suppose a husband and wife decide to have a baby, and they went to bed and made love, and then the next day the baby was born.
Wow.
That's quick, right?
How would that be? No. You think about it, even though 9 months is not easy,
Yeah.
you want that 9 months. Right? You want that 9 months. And then the next panel was like, well, suppose a husband and wife want to have a child, and they went to bed, made love. Next day, there's a 5-year-old child there. Then you get to change any diapers. No, that's not good. Right? You can see the value of growth because it's an investment of love.
Right.
It makes you, my wife said to me one time, says, you know, after we had our first child, you really became responsible. So, that is true. When you have responsibility to love, you learn how to love. It doesn't come easy. It's not automatic. Right? We have to learn how to do it. So God created the process for us to do that. All right. 3 stages of life. Here we go with 3 again. You live in the womb for 9 months, a water environment. But while you're in there, all of the things that are growing in your body for you to be able to live in this next world. Your eyes, your lungs, everything, your digestive system, everything is growing. You don't need those in the womb. You're preparing for the next life. Okay? This we're in the air. But this life is meant to be the life where you learn how to love, because that's preparation for the next life. And if you've heard about, you know, people tell stories of going to the spirit world and then coming back, it's so much more incredible than this world. They didn't want to come back, right? Usually. So it is incredible, but it's a world of love. So what God had planned for us, we haven't seen it. We can't even imagine it. How great it is in this world, right? But if this is 1,000 times greater, what's that? God, what did God make for us? How much does He love us? We can't understand it. Because of the fall. You know, we're separated from God's love and God's truth. All right. How do we grow spiritually? So as we're growing physically, we also should be growing spiritually. And this is what we call it. You know, we put some names on this. God's love and truth is the life elements that come down. Unfortunately, we're not experiencing that, really. You know, we've got the Bible, but that's not direct, you know, that's not a direct relationship with talking to God. And God's love and truth, we're not really experiencing that very much. But that was in the ideal, that would have been available all your life. And then that's the vitality elements. These are the elements that grow your spirit. This is your character growth. As you give love, you get energy that grows your spirit. When you're loving another person and you're experiencing that, you feel energy. Your spirit is growing. You're developing your character through these vitality elements. It's all energy. Our physical bodies, they get air and sunlight. Sorry. Air and sunlight's being polluted, unfortunately. Food and water's being polluted too. Right? They're trying to kill us. Anyway, polluted energies lead to destructive results. We all know that. You're not supposed to eat junk food. What? You know that. But that's going to harm your physical body. But why would you want to do evil? Why would you want to do selfish things? That's going to hurt your spirit. Then when you're gone, you're going to suffer in hell. Come on. Don't do that. So, the positive elements come from God, the man's force. The negative elements, that's up to us. We got to do that. So, and I want to share with you one thing. This is my book I wrote, you guys, son. And this was an experience with God day after day. It was amazing. But here's something I wanted to share with you about energy. This is a chapter called Empty Space. How much space is there? The current estimate is that the atom is 99.9999999% empty space. There's 13 decimals after the 9, after the point, decimal. So, if you put all the matter from all the human beings on Earth, and you take the empty space out, you could put it in a sugar cube. They say, if you imagine a big stadium, a big football stadium, 100,000 people, if you put a grain of rice in the middle, that's the proton. The electron is on the upper balcony, whatever it is. Highest, farthest away. But you're thinking two-dimensionally. That's a stadium. You got to make a globe. You got to make a ball to understand an atom. Everything's empty space. We're not really here. Right? We're just empty space. God created all of us out of empty space. A little energy. God's fun. Okay. But we as human beings, we live in this world and we live also in this invisible spiritual world. It's a higher realm. We can't see it. Some people can. Most of us cannot see the spiritual world, but it is a substantial world. We will experience similar feelings. This is all empty space, basically, but it feels hard, right? So when we go to the next world, it's similar. It'll feel like that. You'll feel like it's hard. You'll be able to have relationships. You'll be able to go and do things, but you're not limited in the same way that we are by being down here in this realm of energy. We go up there, we can fly, right? That's what we heard. You can go wherever you want as fast as you want to go there. You can go see whoever you want immediately. Just, okay, let's go there. How much better? It didn't take you 10 hours to get here from your house. Where you have to drive 10 hours, hour and a half traffic jam. I want to fly. All right. We are the center of the God's cosmos, God's creation. We are to be the rulers, to have dominion over this world. We are the intermediaries. In the original plan of God, we would be able to, our spiritual senses would be open, we'd be able to see that realm, those people. And they can come back and guide us. Right? So much more love would come even from the people in this spiritual world. We are the microcosm of the universe. Why God gave us freedom and responsibility. God created human beings in His image in order to experience a love relationship with them, His children. Right? Yeah, they're making really lifelike ones nowadays. They can fool you almost, right? You don't want that. Love cannot exist without freedom of choice. By freely choosing to love, they would grow to completion and reflect God's image. Thus, they were participating in their own creation. With godlike love, they qualified as parents to create and raise their own children. God gave them the gift of creating his own children. What a gift! I mean, God made us, but we get to make children too. Wow. As creators, human beings would stand in a unique position to govern the rest of God's creation with his love. So once we are like God, then the creation would respond entirely differently. It's called a green thumb. That's just a taste of what the creation would do. We're not going to have any poverty. We're not going to have any people going hungry. That's crazy. By fulfilling their portion of responsibility, human beings are meant to inherit the creative nature of God and participate in his great work of creation. We are co-creators. We have creativity. What a gift. What a gift. God will not interfere, though, in our free will, because that would destroy his gift of creatorship. He cannot. He chose, or maybe he could, but that's not his perfect plan. We have to have, in order for us to be able to have true love relationships, we've got to have free will. That's God's perfect plan. If we mess it up, it's a big problem, right? Until we fulfill God's original plan, we can't really fulfill the purpose of God's creation. So we've got to help God. By fulfilling our portion of responsibility, human beings can grow to maturity of love and perfect our relationship with God. And as I mentioned, if humans fail their responsibility, the kingdom on earth is delayed until we can succeed. Thank you very much. That was a principle of creation.
Thank you.
Overview.